Hi, this is Ian. I'm back in the practice room, and for today's video, I'm going to share Chopin's Waltz in D-flat major. This waltz, Opus 64 number 1, if you're keeping track, is often called the minute waltz because it is so short and fleet. So let's get right to it. Wait, before we get right to it, let me just say, this video and my whole In the Practice Room series is sponsored by my practice room patrons. If you want to know more, come find me on my website, ianscarfe.com. Now, back to the waltz at hand. I told you that this piece was known as the minute waltz, and while that's true, it doesn't really get to the truth of the matter. Because when Chopin sent this to his publisher in 1847, his publisher decided to give this piece a little nickname. You know, that was a nice way to perhaps sell more copies, was to give it a title. So the publisher called it the Minute Waltz, meaning, of course, a very small waltz. So the idea that this piece could be played in just a minute's time was never quite the intention. More on that later. Chopin also had his own nickname for this waltz. Supposedly, the little opening in the little melody in my right hand, which sort of twirls around itself off the beat, that reminded him of a little puppy chasing its tail. So Chopin's little nickname for this piece is the Waltz du petit chien, the waltz of the little puppy. Let's take a look at the way this piece starts, because that little pattern in my right hand is, aside from conjuring up this frenetic energy of a puppy chasing its tail, it also gives us this incredible energy to start the waltz. After all, a waltz is most clearly defined by its rhythm, and especially the rhythm in the left hand. That 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is what we all expect from a waltz. So when it begins with my right hand, not even in 3 beats per bar, but seemingly in 2 beats per bar, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. The way that it almost accidentally falls into the right rhythm is one of the charming parts of this piece. Now, one of my practice room patrons asked me a question after our last video. They said, what's the first thing you do when you start to learn a new piece? So I can answer that here because I just started learning this new piece. First thing I did is I decided to be very intentional about the fingerings I use for the various sections of this piece. So this score that I'm looking at, like most scores, it actually has fingerings suggested. I don't know if they're Chopin's suggestions or some editors along the way, but they were pretty good ones, and I just for the most part I used the suggested fingerings. I changed a couple of them once through trying things out, but I decided that I wanted to rewrite each fingering in my own handwriting. So I went through and I erased one by one all of the fingerings, made sure they worked, and rewrote them in my own handwriting. Now that doesn't sound like much, but for me it was just a kind of a way of committing to each one of these. Hey, I took the pen, I wrote it down, I'm going to use that fingering. Now why am I choosing to do this? Well, partly it's so I can see the music a little better, so I can see the fingerings. Partly because I have this iPad, I can use different colors and it's kind of fun. But partly it's because, you know, for the rest of my life, I will be able to play Chopin's waltz here. And I can play it any way I want to for the rest of my life, but I only get one chance to learn it for the first time. Now, it's only been a day, but I've already learned the A section of this little waltz. I'm going to play a little bit of it for you now, and I hope you'll tune in next time when I tackle the middle section, the B section of this waltz. Then we will have put all the pieces together.